Hello, welcome back to episode 10 of Hive Knits and Natters podcast with me, Lizzie, the maker behind Hive Knits, and you can also find me on Ravelry at Hive Knits. If you're new around here, hello and welcome to my channel. I am a doctor, and when I'm not doctoring, I knit. I work as a doctor to fund my yarn habit, basically, and this channel is all about talking about knitting, sitting down, having a natter, and just generally having a nice time. And if you're a returning viewer, then hello, welcome back. And I'm so sorry I've been gone for so long. I was having a look at my notes when I was deciding to film this, and I recorded episode 9 on the 17th of January, which is months ago now. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm back, here I am. I hope everybody is doing okay. A lot has happened in the world since I last filmed a podcast episode, so I really hope everyone is doing all right. And yeah, I just invite you to sit down for an hour or so and have a chat with me about knitting. Yeah, for me, I think the reason it's been such a long time is just there's been a lot going on life-wise. Since I last filmed, I've actually changed jobs, as junior doctors do every 6 months. I moved from paediatrics to A&E, which is very full-on rota-wise. I work a weekend every 3 weeks, and every 3 weeks, roughly, I do a set of night shifts as well. So there's a lot going on, and there's been less time for knitting and certainly less time for podcasting. But yeah, things have worked out such that I can film today, which I'm really, really happy about. But also had our favourite friend, the virus that begins with C, a couple of weeks ago. So I'm really sorry if I still sound a bit off. Obviously, because we were isolating, I did actually have some time for knitting, which is why I've got some things finished, as I'll talk about in a minute. But as much as I had some time, which was amazing, I wasn't very well for the first few days and also just sounded awful. So I really wanted to film a podcast, but I don't think I'd have been able to talk for a couple of hours, and I definitely still sound a bit nasally, so I'm sorry about that. And if there's any coughing, I also apologise for that as well. But yeah, I'm better and I'm back, so it's really, really nice to be back chatting with everyone. Also, since my last episode, I released my first sweater pattern, which was absolutely incredible. On the 29th of January, I released the first sweater pattern, and I just want to take this moment to say thank you so much to everyone who has supported in any way whatsoever, be that buying the pattern, spreading awareness through word of mouth, leaving a kind comment. It sounds insincere, but honestly, I was so blown away with the response, and I continue to be to this day. It was far more than I anticipated, and yeah, it was absolutely amazing. Having said that, and I am super, super, super grateful, it kind of left me with a bit of mixed feelings, because it was a heck of a lot of work to get the pattern ready and out, and I think actually I did burn myself out a little bit, which is probably why it's also been such a long time since I filmed a podcast. I found that with limited, because my job is so demanding and the rota that I'm on is just also very demanding, when I have limited time, as I do, I find I kind of go in waves, with what I can focus on. I can't do everything. So, when I was focusing much more on the pattern, then kind of YouTube and knitting videos, podcasts kind of fell by the wayside a little bit, because there just isn't time to do everything all the time. And I had to prioritise what time I had. But yeah, it was amazing experience, and continues to be, but it was a lot of work. Getting the pattern ready, all the little things that you don't think about, trying to transition it from a pattern in testing to actually a pattern out there in the world for sale. I had a couple of hiccups with my website as well. I won't bore you with the details, but I wanted to have the pattern available on my website via a web shop, which hasn't actually worked out. So the pattern is for sale on Ravelry only, and I think that's the way I'm going to keep it. But just, yeah, all those things that you just wouldn't even think about, just created a lot going on. And then I think sort of the aftermath of launching the pattern and just the amazing response as well. And it's strange because, you know, so much work went into it. You know, I really took the time to try and get it right, you know, with a big test knit and having it professionally graded and tech edited and stuff. But there's still that moment when you put your work out there into the world that's just really, really, really scary. So yeah, it's been an absolutely incredible experience, but I think I just needed a step back afterwards as well. So that's another reason why I've just been a little bit quiet. But it's really great to be back. And yeah, today just felt right to film an episode. The weather's gorgeous. I have a finished object to show off to you. So yeah, without further rambling from me, can you tell I'm rusty? Let's get into it. So what I'm wearing today, I am wearing a test knit that I took part in a few weeks ago and finished during my isolation when I suddenly had loads of time, which was great. So this is the Soufflé by my absolutely fantastic friend and budding knitwear designer Penrose Knits, who is Laura on YouTube, who has the Knitting Pickle podcast. She is Penrose Knits on Instagram, and also you can find her on Ravelry as well. So this is her first garment pattern. I'm sure many of you will know that she's already had sock and winter accessory patterns released, but this Soufflé is her first garment pattern. You can find out more about it through her podcast, but I'll just chat with you about my version. So I took part in Laura's test knit. She kind of had a dual test knit running in that this pattern has a short sleeved version, which is what I'm wearing, and a long sleeve version. There is now also the chunky Soufflé, which is a sweater in chunky weight yarn, which is running at the moment. But this is the Soufflé T, the test knit of which has just finished last week, and it will be out very, very soon. So this knit is a t-shirt design in a circular yoke, which I actually had never made before. I've realised I love top-down knitting, but I'd only done raglan constructions before. Is that true? Yeah, I think that's true. So a circular yoke was a new one on me, but Laura's instructions are absolutely fantastic. I've knitted mine. It's a mohair design. I've knitted mine in Drops Kid Silk in their navy blue, and I have a bit of a spare skein here, which I will just show you. So I actually bought this. Stop focusing on my face. I actually bought this when I was making my brother's zipper sweater man. See my previous videos for the absolute nightmare I had trying to choose yarn for that. But I bought this when I wondered if I would need to hold mohair with a navy blue alpaca yarn that I made that garment in. I decided not to use the mohair in the end, which I think was the right decision for that particular garment, but it meant that I did have a sweater quantity of navy blue mohair knocking around in my stash, which is no bad thing, especially when one of your best knitting pals announces a test knit for a mohair based garment. So yeah, it's such a fun little design. I'm sure you can see this ruffle. I am going to try and do some cutaways because I'm sat in a bit of an awkward position here, but you can see, there we go, you can see this absolutely gorgeous ruffle detail which carries on all the way around the garment. The top half of the yoke is knit with a single strand of mohair, and then underneath the ruffle we then move to double strand of mohair. You can see the difference there, and it's just really fun. There's an I-cord at the neck, which I'd never ever done before, and the cuffs are folded, and the hem is also folded, which I'd never done before. So there were lots of new to me techniques in this design. I wonder if you can see the back if I try and turn around. There is a little keyhole, and I have attached one of my favourite leopard print buttons. I don't know how closely you pay attention, but I've used those buttons before on various cardigans, and they're really cute, and I had one left over and I was like, that will look so good with this navy mohair. So yeah, it's really, really, really cute design. This is the 3rd size of the short sleeve garment, which I have measured my finished sample, and that gives me a 90 centimetre bust, which gives me 2 centimetres of positive ease, because my bust size is 88 centimetres, and I think this fit is great. Yeah, it's really, really nice. I'm just wearing it today with some high-waisted jeans, and it sits like literally on the waistband, but I could tuck it in the Laura Penrose special French tuck if I had a belt on. And I think this will look really cute with like shorts and, skirts, and yeah, it's just a great little piece really. So I used 5 skeins of this mohair to make this. So this whole top only weighs 125 grams, which is just really dinky. My gauge ended up being 1 stitch off. I have discovered through my own design and test knit process that I am literally the world's tightest knitter. So I think Laura recommends 4mm needles for this. I ended up doing it on 4.5s. The target gauge is 20 stitches per 10 centimetres, and I ended up with 19. So something went a little bit wrong somewhere. But yeah, that's definitely my fault, not Laura's. So thank you so much for having me in your test knit, Laura. It was an absolute pleasure. Really lovely group of test knitters. You know, just like with mine, you know, I was just blown away with how lovely everyone was in the test knit group. I've just realised I've been looking at our viewfinder the whole time. I did say I was rusty. I'll try really hard to look at the lens. Yeah, such a nice group of people in the test knit. And again, like with the first sweater, once you get involved in a test knit group, you just see all the amazing colours that all the testers are making their garments in, and it just makes you want to make them all. And also, like I said, we had the short sleeve test running alongside the long sleeve test. So I think one day, now I have the pattern, I would absolutely love to make a long sleeve version. I think that would be stunning. So yeah, this is the Soufflé tee coming soon from my lovely friend Laura of Penrose Knits. So that is my first finished object since our last podcast, and this goes to show how long it's been since I last filmed, because this wasn't even on the cards last time I filmed a podcast. Like, it wasn't, I wasn't about to cast it on, it wasn't a whip, it's all happened since. It was sort of slowish progress, and then, like I said, was off work with the old Rona, so I just managed to do the ruffle, the cuffs and the I-cord, which is all I had left, in a couple of days, and then blocked it and it's all finished. So my second finished object since we last virtually met, is this green machine. So again, I'll do a cutaway because you won't be able to see it all, but this is my Louisiana Sweater by Petite Knit. And yes, it was going to be a green sweater, but then I ran out of yarn. So I've actually ended up with an accidental colour block, but I'm not mad about it. I actually really like it. Let's start from the beginning. So this was a whip in my previous episode. I'd cast on, I think it was partway through the raglan yoke, and yeah, I just needed a bit of an antidote to small needle projects, and the Louisiana Sweater has been in my patterned stash for absolutely ever. And I got this yarn, which is Serdar Temptation. I have a spare skein of the ivory colour here. It's just pure floof. Yeah, it's super, super fluffy. This is the ivory colour, but I also obviously use the green. Serdar Temptation. This is natural ivory, which I decided to colour block with the green. The green is the sour lime. This is 30% mohair, 70% acrylic, and it's quite a thick mohair. Let me see if I can pull out a strand. Yeah, you can see that there. I would refer you to my friend Sophie from the Knit Pearl Girls mohair encyclopedia video / blog post, and I feel like she'd actually slate this yarn. I don't think she'd like it very much because she's not a fan of thicker mohairs, but I was trying to supplement the Sadness Borstet alpaca, and I saw this in Abercan, which is a craft store with a branch in Manchester, and I thought, do you know what, that'll do, because I really, really, really wanted to make the Louisiana Sweater. So the sweater, like I said, is by Petite Knit. It's one of her designs she's had out for ages. It's not a particularly new design. It's quite a simple raglan design. So there is a single stitch raglan, which you can see there, a folded collar. The collar and the ribbing is knit on 8mm needles, and the body is knit on 9mm needles. What was I saying? Yeah, it's quite a simple design. There is no short row shaping, so the front is exactly the same as the back, which I think for a garment like this, which is so boxy, is okay, although I do like short rows now. Now I've got used to them. Let me just consult my notes to check I haven't missed anything. Yes, I am making the size small, which should get you to a 104cm bust. My bust is 88cm, like I said earlier, so that gives me about 16cm of positive ease. So this is on the oversized side of things. What else to say about this? So I had to hack the pattern a little bit because of the colour block situation. I realised I was going to run out of green yarn, and I decided to use a contrast colour for the bottom. And I think by the time I realised I was going to run out of yarn, I thought, right, I've got enough to do both sleeves. So I did those, and then evaluated how much yarn I had left, and I was like, I definitely don't have enough to do what was left of the body and then the ribbing. But I think by the time I got to this colour change, or where the colour change is, there was only a couple more rows left, and then the ribbing would have started if I'd knit completely to pattern. And I thought, I think if there's just a couple of rows and then the ribbing, the colour block won't really work that well. I just thought it would look a bit unbalanced and more of an, like, it was an accident. Obviously I didn't plan to do it two different colours, but I thought it would look more accidental and like a mistake if I did it like that. So I actually extended the body a little bit and then did a bit longer ribbing than the pattern recommends as well. So the pattern is actually quite cropped. If you look at the picture of Petite Knit wearing the Louisiana sweater that's in the pattern, it is quite a cropped fit on her, whereas this isn't that cropped on me because I have lengthened the body and the ribbing. I also then decided to lengthen the sleeve ribbing a little bit as well, just because I quite like a bigger cuff, and I thought it balanced out the bottom ribbing a bit as well. I have put elastic in this collar, and I've done it a bit of a different way to what I have previously done. So in the first sweater and the sweater I made for my partner, I put elastic, like threaded it through the inside of this folded collar. So where the elastic pulls is kind of around the top here. Now, I just thought I'd change it up, and this time I've actually crocheted elastic into this. You can't see it actually, because I've done such a good job. No, I'm joking, because it's so tiny. But basically into this fold. So where the stretch is actually here instead of here. The reason I've done that, and the look I was going for, is that the collar will like sit here and then stand up a bit more to be like more of a sort of mock neck or like turtleneck, rather than if you put the elastic here and there's no elastic here, then you sort of get, it's not going to really work, but you get more like that effect. And I just thought I'd try it out to see how it worked. I'm not 100% sure yet, because what I've got is, obviously this is holding its shape really well down here, but this has a tendency to like flop out a bit up here, which looks a bit odd. So I have two options. I could also put elastic in this top bit, and then the whole thing would sit like that. Or I could take this out, put the elastic in here, and have it more like that. So I think I just need to wear it a bit and see. It's a bit warm today. I was going to wear this because I finished this before this, but it's a bit warm today, so I thought I'd wear the t-shirt instead. So maybe next episode I'll wear this and you can see what I mean about the collar stitch. But yeah, it's interesting. You think like, oh, just add elastic to the collar, but it's actually not that simple. Yeah. I think it's interesting, but then maybe I'm just a bit of a nerd. So anyway, that is my finished Louisiana sweater. Oh, you can kind of see it there in the space. Yeah, oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, we like this a lot. It was just a really quick knit with some really funky, inexpensive yarn. I can't remember exactly how much this was, but obviously I bought it when it was on offer, but it wasn't expensive. Serdar yarn doesn't tend to be that expensive, and obviously this has got a 70% acrylic makeup as well, which reduces the price. I know people have opinions on acrylic, so I'm not going to go into it here, but that is what this yarn is made up of. So yeah, that was my second finished object since the last podcast. I actually said in the last podcast this will be finished by my next podcast, but I didn't realise it was going to be 2.5 months later, so I'm not sure I can really count that as a win. Right, so yes, I actually have one more finished object. Again, it's only because of like the amount of time that's passed and the fact that I was isolating for a while, so again, can't really count that as a win. But if you recall from my previous episode, I had finished, but it was still blocking, an Oslo Hat by Petite Knit, and it was damp and it was stuck to the blocking mat, so I kind of unsuccessfully showed it off to you. But since then, I've actually finished a second Oslo Hat, so I can show you them both together. So this is my original one in Lanagato VIP. Let me just focus on that. There we go. In this beautiful moss green colour. So my lovely friend Simona from Knit Yarns gifted me this VIP yarn, which is honestly one of the softest things I've ever felt in my life. Its makeup is 80% extra fine merino and 20% cashmere, and boy can you tell. It's like, I was talking to my girls on Knit Group about this, and my friend Caroline from Penrose Knits is a big fan of VIP as well. And she and I agree that it's like knitting with butter, and honestly it is. It's just so soft, and it's not cheap, but I think it's like nearly £6 for a 50 gram ball, which works as 200 meters. But for the 20% cashmere component, I don't think that's too bad. But yeah, this is my Oslo Hat by Petite Knit. It's the non-mohair version. It's a triple folded hat, so you not giving the construction away completely, but essentially you knit, fold over a brim and then fold over again to get a triple folded brim, and then you've got crown decreases, and it's a great fit. I'm not going to put it on just now because it's on my hair, but I do have a picture of me wearing it, so I will insert that. So that is Oslo Hat number 1. However, funny story, so my partner Pete, who I live with, really liked this hat and sent me a picture of him wearing it when I was at work one day, and captioned the picture, "I really like this hat," which is great. I love the fact that he's a fan of something I've knitted. And then the next thing I know, he told me, "Oh, I've ordered some yarn because I really like that hat. So would you make me one?" I've never actually come across that before. I just thought that was so funny. Like, I love this so much. Please really make me one. And I have already ordered the materials you will require. Here they are. I thought that was really classy. Like, that was great. So let me show you his Oslo hat. I'm just gonna reset my camera, that's the word, because it cuts out. Hello, I'm back. So yes, Pete decided he wanted an Oslo hat in a mustard colour, which was a very good choice because it suits him, and he also has a really nice mustard scarf. So the aim was that I would make this and then he could wear them both together. So he ordered VIP from Simona as well, which was just really funny, in a mustard colour. And it took 3 50-gram skeins to make this, by the way. So, I mean, I didn't use all of the third skein, but for the size I made, which was, there's 2 adult sizes. I think it was the largest adult woman size, and the last size up is the men's size. I couldn't have got away with 2. I definitely needed 3. So he ordered 3 skeins of the VIP in mustard, this is his yarn, and it is just so nice. Like, I wish we had not smell-o-vision, like squish-o-vision, so you could squish this. It's beautiful. You can see how it's catching the light there. It's really nicely plied. Same composition, obviously, 80% merino and 20% cashmere. So that was his yarn, and here is his hat. So obviously exactly the same as mine, just a different colour. Here they are together. Which one do you prefer? His or hers? But yeah, they're nice. I absolutely love these hats. They're absolutely great. Fit is really nice. I have a huge head and this fits well. Pete decided he wanted the same size as me because he loved my hat so much. So these are exactly the same hats, exactly the same size, exactly the same yarn, just different colours. So yeah, that is the Oslo hat. The pattern is actually written for Arvetta or Sunday by Sandnes Garn, 2 strands held together. I should have said making it with VIP because it's a similar weight yarn sort of to those 2, Arvetta and Sunday. I also held it double stranded on 3mm. I think the result of the VIP, it's made like a really plush, plump material, which just feels really, really luxurious. I didn't gauge swatch for this because I knew that mine fit. But interestingly, the Arvetta is 210 meters to 50 grams, and the Sunday is like 235 meters to 50 grams. And then the VIP I've used is 200 meters. So it is ever so slightly thicker, which is probably why it's made such a plump finish, which I really love. There is also a Oslo Hat mohair version, I think. I don't have that pattern. I can't comment on how the technicalities of it are any different, but I do think that this would look really nice with a strand of mohair. So yeah, highly recommend the Oslo Hat pattern, it's really nice. Which brings me on to my whips. Now, if you didn't already, you're going to think I'm a crazy person, because whip number 1 is, any guesses? Any guesses? Any guesses? Oh, it's an Oslo Hat. Yeah, you know, Rebecca from the Crayabea talks about like the value of remaking a pattern and like working that into sort of her sustainable practice and stuff. So I think I've really got my money's worth from this pattern. This is the 3rd Oslo Hat that I'm making, and this one's going to be for my brother in this beautiful red colour. And you see that there? Yes, you can. Oh, it's blowing out actually ever so slightly. That's probably more true to life. It's beautiful. This is called Verona Red. Again, it's VIP by Lanagatto. Exactly the same yarn, same composition, just a different colour. It's not a claret or a Bordeaux. It's just a slightly muted red. There are a few reds they do actually, and there was one that was much brighter, but I just thought this one was really nice, and it's knitting up really, really nicely. I've nearly finished actually. I just have to do the crown decreases. I'm using my 3.5mm needles from my Like a Driftwood set, you can see there. So I've done the majority of the knitting, as you can see. I've done the fold and then the fold again and then knitted up, and I'm literally at the point where I'm about to start the decreases. I actually started them the other night when I was watching telly and messed it up, so I need to do it again, which is a bit annoying, but there we go. And then this will be finished. His birthday was actually last week while we were isolating, so sorry it's a little bit late, but I think this will go really nicely with his zipper sweater man, which is sort of this colour, and just look, oh, that red and navy together are just lovely. So yeah, I really hope he likes this. My brother has the biggest head in the whole world. Like, my head's massive, but I think his is even slightly bigger. But I wanted this fit to still be snug, and I was worried, excuse me, I was worried that the men's size, because this fits Pete really well. Let's have them all together. I've accidentally made traffic light hats. Look at that, that's hilarious. I accidentally made a set of traffic lights. Woohoo! Yeah, so I didn't want to make the biggest size, not because I don't think it would fit his head, because as a family we have huge heads, apart from my dad, his is tiny. Definitely comes from my mum's side of the family. Yeah, so I just wanted it to still be snug. So I went a bit rogue and I've gone in between the smallest women's size and the men's size. I think there was like 4 stitches different in the cast on numbers or something, so I went in between. So now every instruction I have to like go in between for those 2 sizes, which is probably why I went wrong. But never mind, I think it'll be really nice. So this just needs the crown decreases doing, and then it can be washed, blocked and delivered. There's a song in that somewhere. Washed, blocked, delivered, I'm yours. So yeah, this is Oslo Hat number 3. Maybe who wants one next? I actually think my mum's angling for one next, but she's a pretty nifty knitter. She's currently making the first sweater, so I don't know, maybe you'll have to make your own, mum. Because as much as I've loved reusing the same pattern, I think I might need a break from the Oslo Hat because it is 3.5mm needles. So yes, we shall say no more about that. So yes, that was my first whip. Let me talk about my second whip. I feel like I'm going quite quickly today. We're only on my second camera. You know, I've only had to reset the camera once and we're already halfway through the whips. But I'm also a third down on my battery, so to keep the pace going. So my second whip is my sweater number 11 by My Favourite Things Knitwear. So I was making this when I filmed the last episode. So as you will recall, I'm making this with 2 yarns held together. I'm using Filcolana Peruvian Highland wool in Snow White, and I'm holding that with a very special mohair which I got for Christmas from my parents. It is Raya Yarn's mohair, dyed in the colourway Artemis, and I have a ball of it wound up here. I showed this on the last podcast, but it's so beautiful, I'm going to show it again. It is just stunning. It's like a pale base, and then with speckles of sort of dark navy and purple. And yeah, it's just gorgeous. I really, really, really like it. On the sort of like merino and sock merino bases, it comes up as speckles, but like on the mohair, it's kind of blended a bit more. And I know Leah was a bit unsure about how it would look, but I absolutely love it. And I love how it's knitting up as well. So that's the Peruvian Highland wool in the Snow White. Not particularly interesting colour, but I just wanted like a blank base for this mohair to shine. And Peruvian Highland wool is just fantastic. It's such a good like workhorse yarn. It's 100% wool, but it's soft and like it's just great. I absolutely love it, and it comes in such a great range of colours as well. So that's the front. This is how my sweater number 11 is working up. I just absolutely love the speckles there. I hope you can appreciate that. I hope the camera is going to pick it up. Here's the back as well. Yeah, it's just amazing. I absolutely love it. I love the shoulder construction on this project as well. It's so pretty. So yeah, I was saying in my previous episode that I was kind of stuck between making like sweater number 11 by My Favourite Things Knitwear or the Wednesday sweater by Petite Knit. I liked elements of them both. I really like the shoulder construction, as I just said, in this sweater number 11. But I liked a few things about the Wednesday sweater, like the split hem and stuff. So I'm using the sweater number 11 pattern, but I'm going to do the split hem. So it's going to be a sweater number Wednesday or a Wednesday number 11, and it's going to be great. So this pattern is great. However, the sizing, it's not odd, but there's only 3 sizes because they are all very oversized. So I'm making the smallest size, and my bust is 88 centimetres, as I've said a couple of times, but the smallest size, the circumference, the finished bust circumference is 126 centimetres, which gives me 38 centimetres of positive ease, which is a heck of a lot. And I know it's meant to be like that, and I understand that that's the look, the oversized look, but that is a lot of positive ease. And I mention that because it's relevant, because I've kind of accidentally managed to reduce that ease, but because there was such a lot available to start with, it's not that much of an issue, which is kind of cool. So I spoke on my last episode about an issue I was having with rowing out, which I'd not really had before, but was for some reason very prominent on this project. So I restarted after last time, but I kept the progress of the project I had so I could show you and compare. So I hope this is going to pick up, but I was having issues with some of the rows. Just you can kind of see it there. Can you see that some of those rows are sticking out and are really prominent, and some of them aren't? You can see it up here. This is called rowing out, and I'd not really come across it before. And it's an issue that happens when you knit something flat and your tension of your knits and your purls, because you are knitting backwards and forwards to make stockinette stitch. So your right side rows are knit and your wrong side rows are purls. It happens when those stitches are different tensions to each other. And it didn't happen in my swatch, and granted this isn't blocked, but it was really bugging me. And again, my friend Caroline from Caroline's Knits, she's made the Wednesday sweater, and she said, and showed me actually on her garment, that it's really obvious, even though she's blocked hers, it's obvious where she transitioned from knitting on the yoke backwards and forwards to knitting in the round. And even after blocking, you can see her rowing out. So I was like, oh, it might block out, but equally, I don't want that to happen. And I haven't got that, you know, I hadn't done that much. This was all I'd done. And I just thought, if I can do something about it now, why wouldn't I? So quite a few of you commented on my last video, which was really helpful, what you thought the problem was, that tension's different on your knitting and purling, and you're absolutely bang on. And some of you recommended, basically, because I have interchangeable needles, using different needle sizes for knits and purls depending on where the problem lies, which was super helpful. So that's exactly what I did, thank you, if you were someone who suggested that. So I realised that it was my purl rows that were tighter that were causing the problem. I carried on for a few more rows and kind of looked at where it was happening, and it was my purl rows that were causing the problem. So I thought I need to knit on a smaller needle size, maybe just 1/2 millimetre, to my purl rows, and then my purl rows, if I do them on a bigger needle, they won't be as tight because the needle size is bigger. So I was knitting on 5mm needles, which is what the pattern recommends. So I went down to a 4.5 for my knits and stayed on a 5 for my purls. Now in hindsight, I probably would have gone up to 5.5 for my purls and stayed at 5 for my knits, but I didn't do that. Now, as a consequence, I'm in the round now, so it's not obviously happening, but you can see the back panel of this, and it has happened ever so slightly, but it's nowhere near as bad. Like, I'm trying to roll it around in the light so it would pick up, but you know, that it's much more even than the other one was, which is great. The only issue is that the going down to the 4.5 and the 5 has changed my gauge, has made it a little bit tighter. So this pattern is meant to be 17 stitches per 10 centimetres on 5mm needles. I'm now knitting at about 18 stitches, so it's only 1 stitch difference, which old me, and some of you might be like, it's fine, 1 stitch, it's fine, how will it make a difference? But that's in 10 centimetres. So the circumference of this finished sweater is 126 centimetres. So if you extrapolate that, you know, it doesn't sound much when it's like 1 stitch in 10 centimetres, but actually when that's like, you know, that many times bigger to get the 126 centimetres, it will make quite a difference. Luckily though, in this situation, I've got bags and bags of positive ease to play with. So the fact that my gauge is a bit tighter and the garment's going to be a bit smaller is not a problem. So now I'm in the round, I've measured my circumference of my sample with my 18 stitches per 10 centimetre gauge instead of the recommended 17 stitches per 10 centimetre gauge. And I'm getting, I wrote this down earlier, where's it gone? 118 centimetres instead of 126. Now that's pre-blocking, so things may relax out, but I doubt I'm going to get another 8 centimetres width. It might happen, but I doubt it. But 118 centimetres still gives me 30 centimetres of positive ease instead of the 38, so it's really not a problem. I've tried it on, you know, so far, as much as you can tell when there's no neckband and no sleeves, it fits, and I can tell from the numbers that there's still a large amount of positive ease. So actually, it's worked out okay. But I just thought it was an interesting example of trying to fix one problem and then like creating another one, which in this instance has worked out okay for me, but only because of like a nuance of the pattern that it had so much ease. I find all this so interesting. Like, I don't know if you remember I said before, but like with my brother's zipper sweater, like I chopped and changed with yarn choices loads. My gauge ended up being a bit out there and I knew about it and I adapted the pattern, like to find out, you know, I knew my gauge was like 1.5 stitches more than it should have been. So I knew I'd have to adapt my width, the number of raglan increases I was doing to get the actual right width for his body, which I'd measured for the gift. But I just think that I find it really interesting. Like I like doing a bit of jiggery pokery with the numbers and doing maths and trying to make both sides of the equation match up and stuff. I find that quite interesting. And you do it quite a lot in design processes as well. So yeah, an interesting experience. But yeah, this is working up so nicely. I think it's going to be really, really pretty when it's finished. I think I might pick up the neckline soon because I think that will really add, like at the moment it just doesn't really look like much. Like obviously the shoulders are amazing. But yeah, I think it will really come into its own when I pick up the neck, which is a big folded turtleneck of twisted rib. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, this yarn combination is absolutely stunning. Even the wrong side is pretty. You don't often get a wrong side that's really pretty, but this one is. So yeah, that is my second whip, the sweater number 11 by My Favourite Things Knitwear. It got stalled a little bit while I was focusing on the test knit and gift knitting, but don't you worry, it will be back in action very, very soon. I'm looking at the viewfinder again. Stop it. I'm so sorry. So, how are we doing? I'm conscious that my battery might run out, but I'm just going to go with it and see what happens. So I have one more whip that is on the needles at the moment, and it's actually a new design. I'm a bit cautious about how much to share about it, but then I realised I actually shared quite a lot about it like a year ago when I first had the idea, so never mind. Way back in May last year, I had a random idea to try and make like a colour contrast raglan, and you may remember I did some swatches which looked a lot like this. That's with a 2-stitch raglan and that's with a 3-stitch raglan, and I liked the way it looked, but I was focusing on the first sweater and this kind of just got put on the back burner. So then, like I said, I got kind of burnt out with all the design stuff. Like anyone else who designs will understand. And I do feel like there is a bit of an understandable lack of understanding from people who aren't designers about how much work goes into it. Like it's something for another podcast, but it's insane. Like I feel like when you buy a pattern and you make it, you obviously appreciate the workmanship that's in the pattern, but in a way you can't until you've gone through the process of writing one yourself, because yeah, it's just insane. So like I said before, like it was a lot of work. I definitely did burn myself out a little bit, which made me sad and have mixed feelings because I suffer massively from burnout at work in my medical job, and I used knitting to dig me out of that hole. So it made me feel a bit weird when I realised I'd sort of burnt myself out of knitting as well. But it was definitely temporary. I just needed a break. I'd kind of really pushed myself to get the design out before the end of winter, and I knew that when I decided on the release date. And yeah, it's a lot of work, and something I underestimated, right? Pattern support. That's hard work, and I think it is partly driven by imposter syndrome. Like every time I get an email, this is real talk, right? But every time I get an email and I can tell, just from a brief glance, or the subject box says it's a query about the pattern, like I get this, like anyone who suffers from anxiety will understand what I mean when I say like you go cold and there's like a grip on your heart, like you get that like adrenaline surge. And this voice in my head every time I get an email about the pattern is like, someone's found a massive flaw, you're an amateur, this is it, you've been found out, this is the end. Like that's what the imposter syndrome voice in my head says every time I see an email about the pattern, which is ridiculous, and I know it is, but that's how it is. And so, yeah, I found the pattern support side of things quite draining as well. Don't get me wrong, I cannot describe the amazing feeling of people not only buying, as in like from the commercial side, but like wanting to make my pattern. And it's just, every time I see someone that has bought it or shares it or like shares a photo of their progress, like I can't actually believe someone is making the pattern that I created, and it's the best feeling in the world. And I am not knocking that at all. I want to make that very clear. But the pattern support side of it does just make me really anxious, because I think, even though I had it professionally graded, so I know the numbers are right and it was tested and all of that, like it's watertight, I know it is rationally deep down, but there's still that voice every time that says, you know, no, this is the one where someone's going to have found out that there's a massive problem with it, and you know, the hundreds of people that have bought it are all going to want their money back, and it's all your fault. Like, that's what goes through my head, and it's quite exhausting to have that go through your head every single time someone asks a question. And most people are absolutely lovely. There have been a few, obviously not going to go into any details, but you know, there are a few times where people could have phrased things better, or, you know, comes across a bit rude. And that is frustrating, but that is massively in the minority, and it does not by any means cancel out or even taint the amazingness of having so many people be so supportive and, you know, support my creation. But all this to say that it was a lot, and I think I just needed to make other people's patterns for a bit. But I think it was actually when we were isolating again, I was like, do you know what, I'm ready to like tinker around again and pick up, like I really want to make the first sweater into a cardigan. I've said that a few times, but I just need to get my head around the sort of maths of it and like the placket construction and all that. But I was like, do you know what, I've had this contrast raglan idea in my head for a while, so why not pick that back up? Because, you know, I can just tinker around with it. You know, I know how to knit a raglan. Let's just have fun with it. And so I made another swatch, and I'd seen Calibri by Joanna. She's doing this amazing, like, colourful sweater that's kind of like tartan or plaid or check, but it's kind of stripes, but then she's putting vertical stripes on afterwards. And I thought it was duplicate stitch because the Petite Knit Scotty sweater is in duplicate stitch. But I actually saw one of Calibri by Joanna's stories, and she's using a crochet hook, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting way to add colour afterwards, because I did this with duplicate stitch and I think it looks lovely, but it is a little cumbersome. So I was like, let's try the crochet hook, and it's kind of made a stripe, but I quite like it. Let me just get that to focus. Oops. Yeah, can you see, like, the crochet has kind of like forced the stitches apart, so there's ended up with a stripe down the raglan instead of that's the colour block. You can see the difference. That's the colour block duplicate on this side, and that's the crochet hook stripe. And actually, I think you probably could use the crochet hook in the gap and crochet up the other way to fill in. So I was like, that kind of looks kind of cool. I like it. It's hard to imagine when it's on such a small scale. But yeah. So that's obviously a swatch. So I was like, right, let's cast on a design, let's see. So I haven't got super far, but I'll just show you. Oh, I'm using Double Sunday by Sandnes Garn, which I have told you about before. This is the whipped cream colourway. It's a non-superwash 100% merino yarn, 50 grams per 108 meters. This is the whipped cream, and then this is what I've got to use for the contrast for the raglan. This is Statement Green. These are both the Petite Knit colourways for Double Sunday. It's a lovely yarn, it's really nice. And this is what I have so far. Ta-da! So I've done a 2x2 rib collar because I've never done that before and I thought it looked really nice. And I'll have to see how I haven't tried it on at this stage, but we'll have to see how it works up, because I'd like to have the collar kind of sit like a bit proud, like up there rather than down there. But we'll have to see if my numbers work out. But yeah, it's raglan, and I made the raglans quite, it's hard when it's on a short cord, but the raglans kind of carry on down. That's what I want to show you from the neckline. And they're not super far apart either, because obviously I didn't want them to be round the shoulders, because then you wouldn't get the impact of the colour block as much. So yeah, this is as far as I got, about halfway down, I think, from my calculations, the yoke. So I'm going to try it on and just see how those raglans are sitting. It may be that I need to bring them slightly closer together. We'll see. I think it will depend how the collar sits, because obviously if the collar starts spreading out, then those raglan stitches will be further towards the shoulders. But if the construction is such that the collar's there, then you can see the two raglans will be like there and there, which is a decent placement. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you. I haven't done any of the contrast down the raglans yet. I was going to just fit check first before I committed to doing that. But yeah, that is my third whip. I haven't shared any of that on Instagram yet, so you saw it here first. But yeah, it was time, and it's a bit of fun. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. These things happen. Trying to be chill about it. I think during the first sweater design process, like I found it, I think because the stitch pattern I chose was very like hard to undo, and obviously is like with mohair as well. I found it, part of the design process obviously is frogging, and I frogged the first sweater in its entirety, changed the needle size, changed the sleeves from full fisherman's rib to half. So I did frog it, but it was a bit of a laborious process. Whereas this one, I've already cast it on like 5 times because I could not get the maths right for the flipping collar. I knew I wanted the knit stitches of the 2x2 rib to carry on into the 2-stitch raglan, but I kept getting the maths wrong, and every time I cast it on, I was like, I've done it wrong again. So I think that was like the 5th time. So it's fine, it's chill. If I need to rip it back and cast it on again, what's the 6th time? It's all good. Obviously my water bottle is on brand. Hive Knits bee designs. Oops. So, I seem to be getting away with it vis-a-vis the battery, so I'm just going to carry on. I don't have that much more to talk about actually. Just a few acquisitions, and not many at that. So I've heard quite a few people say this, and I am also trying to achieve this. Towards the end of last year, I kind of realised that my stash had got a bit out of hand. Now, don't get me wrong, I've seen some people's stashes, and it's pitiful, if I'm honest, compared to some. No, that's not the way that we should be looking at things. It's just a lot for what space we have. Like, we live in a 1-bed flat, and there just isn't the space to hoard huge amounts of yarn, which is probably a good thing, which is a good thing. But nonetheless, I kind of realised I'd gathered a lot of yarn, with some with plans and some not really with plans. And like, I got a fair bit of yarn for sort of Christmas as well. I had quite a lot to talk about in acquisitions of episode 9. And I just was like, I don't really need any more, and I want to try and work through what I've got to complete the plans that I have. So I'm trying really hard to use my stash. and I was really pleased that I could use it to make this top. Now, it's kind of, I think I had 9 skeins of the mohair and this has only used 5. So I do still have a few more skeins, but do you know, like, I didn't have to buy any yarn to make this. I could just use what I had in the drawer, which is great for not buying any more and not buying more than I need and using what you have and all of that. But actually, I could just cast it on straight away as well. I didn't have to wait for a yarn delivery, so extra bonus. The Louisiana Sweater, sort of, I bought that yarn towards the end of last year, and then kept it for a bit, but cast that on quite quickly. And then I had to buy more to finish it, so that didn't really work. But it has worked. It got rid of all of the green yarn from my stash, which is very good. And then also, yarn stash is one thing, but that pattern was in my pattern stash for a really long time as well. So I'm counting that as a win. And then this double Sunday has been in my stash for ages because I bought this yarn when I first had the idea to make the contrast raglan design, which was, like I said, nearly a year ago. So this is also using stash. So that's really great. That's at least 3 things that have used my stash, and like, it's now not sat in my drawer, it's being knit. And obviously my sweater number 11 is like working through the yarn I got for Christmas to make that, so that's great. But obviously there is still quite a lot to get through. And I was thinking, I wondered if anyone would be interested in a bit of like a stash tour. I'm not going to do it as part of this video because it's going to be long enough anyway, because of the time that passed between the 2 episodes. There's actually quite a lot to talk through. But I just thought it could be fun. So if you would be interested in that video, then please let me know. I do have plans for quite a lot of it now, so I thought I could sort of get it all out and then talk about what it's going to become. So yeah. So all that to say, I don't actually have that many acquisitions. I've got 1 yarn acquisition and 1 like accessory acquisition, and the accessory acquisition was gifted. And the yarn acquisition was purchased, is the only acquisition yarn-wise that I've made in 2022, apart from this to top up the Louisiana Sweater, which I think is pretty good, considering it's the end of March. Like, that's 3 months and I've only bought what I'm about to talk about. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. And it was for a good cause. So pretty much everyone I know was aware of Knitting for Olive's fundraising effort to donate their pattern sales from a weekend to the Red Cross to provide aid for those in Ukraine, which was a really amazing thing to do, and they raised a substantial amount of money. So I decided to purchase some Knitting for Olive yarn. I know people have their opinions on the Knitting for Olive donations and people donating via getting something for themselves. I'm not going to talk about that here. It's not why I brought this up in this section. So I'm just going to talk about what I purchased. So I have never ever bought any Knitting for Olive yarn before. Never have I ever. And I've known about it for ages. I know so many people that use it. I've always thought it looks lovely. Ethically, I believe it's like gets a big tick for, you know, being cruelty free and traceable, and not being superwash. And, you know, especially their mohair is very what am I trying to say? Their mohair is cruelty free and they publicise that, whereas I think quite a lot of mohair, we're not quite sure of the details. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So they get a big tick from the sort of sustainability point of view. But yeah, I've never gone to a physical yarn shop that stocks it, and I've never ordered from their website. So I thought, I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to buy some of this. and now there's an opportunity for the money to be donated to the Red Cross. So let's do it. So I bought some heavy merino in this really beautiful colour. Is it soft aqua? I keep saying dusty aqua, and that's not right. Soft aqua. And I really hope the camera picks this up because it's just stunning. It's like a really heathered shade. Now, I looked on the website this morning when I was making these notes, and it doesn't seem to be there at the moment. A lot of their colours are there and say sold out, so I don't know if it's been discontinued. I'm kind of sad if so, because it's really pretty. It's like a sort of overall, I suppose you'd say, a dusty, minty green, but it's not a plain colour at all. There's lots of different tonal colours in there, like blues and greens and whites, and yeah, it's lovely. So this is what I bought from their fundraiser. So I think I got, did I get 7? Sorry, rustling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 skeins of this. So their heavy merino runs 50 grams, 125. Ooh, that's blurry. Oh no. 50 grams, 125 meters, and it's 100% merino wool. I bought this with a very specific purpose. So for Christmas, my partner Pete bought me this really beautiful baby blue mohair from this amazing shop, which is Danish and I can't pronounce, but I'm going to try and butcher it anyway, just for Caroline's enjoyment. Sostrene Grene, I think. Caroline, how did I do? But yeah, the colour is so pretty. It's a bit of me. And I just thought it was really sweet that he bought this for me for Christmas because, like, I mean, he doesn't know, like, a lot about the technicalities of yarn, but still managed to buy, you know, I love mohair and I love this colour, and I was just like, you're a keeper, aren't you? That's really great that you've done that. So he bought me 4 skeins of this, and he was like, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to usefully make anything. I was like, it definitely will be. And I was having a look through some patterns to be like, what can I make? And I actually found that the sweater number 9, which again I've had in my pattern stash for yonks, by my favourite things knitwear, the one with like the high neck and the raglan that's like knits down here but then pearls either side as well. It's quite an iconic raglan design. You definitely know it. And I've wanted to make it for ages, but I never had the right yarn. So when I saw that this would be the right quantity of mohair, I was like, right, I'll get something that matches this and I can finally make that pattern. So the pattern calls for Knitting for Olive's heavy merino. So I was like, well, that's what I will do. And it all tied in very nicely. So that's what they're going to look like together, which is just yummy. I'm really excited to swatch actually, because the overarching colour of this is obviously not this, but I don't know how well it's picking up, but the heathering of all the different colours in this, there is actually like some soft strands of a colour not dissimilar to this running through this heavy merino. So I think it could be quite interesting when they're swatched together. It's not exactly a contrasting colour, but it's not quite the same either. And then the fuzz that this will give this, oh, I just think it's going to be great. So yeah, watch this space for that swatch and that sweater number 9. I should imagine it will be probably towards the end of summer when I get round to that. Not anytime soon, but yeah, I'm really excited for that. So thanks Pete, and thank you Knitting for Olive. So the last thing I've got to talk about is was a gift to me. All my battery indicators now flashing, so I'll be quick. So the lovely Kimmy from Knit and Living reached out to me on Instagram, and she asked if she could send me some of the flexible stitch holders that are just everywhere at the moment for a very good reason. And I was like, ooh, that's interesting, because I've actually never tried the like plasticky ones with the hollow. I've got the Coco Knit set, which I showed in my podcast previous podcast or the one before. And that's a leather cord set with a needle, basically a hollow needle that you thread and it grips to the cord, and then you thread that through your stitches to put them on hold or to try on or whatever you're using them for. Whereas these are a bit different. I actually have one on this, you can see it there because I was using it for trying on. But yeah, they're really good. I sort of underestimated quite how good they'd be, and my Coco Knits ones were quite pricey, and obviously they're leather, but I don't know, practically I'm not sure if I prefer these ones. So you probably can't see, and you probably don't need to because I think everyone has seen these before, but they are like a plastic cord, but it's hollow. And the good thing about it is, I'll demonstrate on here. So my Coco Knits ones, like I said, you have to screw the needle onto the cord, like it would be that end of a separate needle. You can't attach the needles that are already in your work to the cord, which is the difference with these, because you literally just attach that there, secure it, and unless you really pull, that's not going to come off, and then like you can just slide that into your work then, which is really great. Obviously I don't need it to try on this hat, but I was just demonstrating. I would need it to try on my contrast raglan, so really that would have been a better demo, but such is life. Anyway, and then when you're done, you just pop it off. So yeah, big fan of these actually. So thank you so much, Kimmy, for sending some, because I then got to try a different kind of set to my Coco Knits ones. She also really kindly sent me a second set that I used in my 10k giveaway a week or so ago. But the poor winner, the person who was the third winner, got the stitch holder set from Kimmy from Knit and Living, and also a mini skein from Raya Yarns. And she's been so patient, bless her, because I was about to post them and then I got COVID. So I was like, obviously this is not a good idea to post stuff when I've got COVID in the house. So I didn't. So if you're watching, I'm COVID free, I will post them for you. So you will have your very own set of these, and they come in this really cute little bag with Kimmy's details on. I'm sure you all know her anyway. There we are. I will link her website down below, and I will link this specific product as well. But as you can see, there's a few different colours in here. I think the ones in here are all the same length. I might be wrong. If you go and check out her website, they are different length ones, I think, different colours. And because they're sort of like thin plastic, they do fit on. I've not had a set of needles that one of the cords in here doesn't fit on. I think they are slightly different diameters. Yeah, you can see that that blue one in there is quite a lot thicker than the yellow one. So I think you just select one that fits the needle that you're trying to use. But yeah, really nice little resealable, if you can see that in there, resealable little pouch to keep them in. Just very aesthetically pleasing. So thank you so much, Kimmy, for sending those, and congratulations to my lovely giveaway winner for winning a set of your own, which I will post really soon. Gosh, I think we've made it. I think that's actually everything, and my battery hasn't quite run out yet. So I will say goodbye. Thank you so much for watching. It's been so nice. Every time there's a massive gap between podcasts, I always like, oh God, I need to film a podcast. Like, I love doing it, but the prep is big time. And then I get to this stage when I've done the chat and I'm like, oh, that was so fun. I've had such a nice time. My voice is feeling it a bit. Like, I'm sorry if I sound a bit strange. But yeah, I've had a lovely time. Thank you so much for watching. Please, as always, say the YouTube thing of like and subscribe and leave me a comment. I always love to read all your comments. I am a little bit behind I think I've really caught up well on my previous comments, and I've got like a few that have crept in while I was poorly and stuff, so I'm sorry if I haven't got back to you yet. But yeah, it's so nice to know that people watch and enjoy watching. I was going to say something. I knew that was going to happen. As soon as I started talking about how I'd got away without the battery going, it then died. So I will wrap this up now. Like I said, thank you so much for watching. I absolutely love to know that there's people watching and appreciating me banging on about knitting out there. I really do appreciate all your support. Let me know if you think a stash tour would be interesting or not. I know that I've watched other people's like similar sounding videos and I have really enjoyed them. I think just because I'm really nosy at heart, but yeah, let me know, and let me know what you're working on. It's nice to know what people might have been knitting on while they've been listening to me waffle on. So until next time, take care. Enjoy your knitting projects, and I will see you very soon. Bye!